Ooh, I almost forgot to unmute. That would have been great. Good evening. Welcome to Let's Have a Fefe. We are at season 11, episode 19, and it is already March, if you can believe that shit. I don't know how it is already March. Hang on, I'm going to... Where did we go? I was gonna. I don't know how it's already March. That I have no idea. It feels like February just started. It feels like this year just started. So this is very. Yeah, I'm a little thrown off. I thought I had more time to do some stuff, and apparently I don't. It's fine. I'm not panicking. But for more than 10 years, we have been your Wednesday night conversation. I say we. Currently, it is just me. I'm sure Felicia will be joining us shortly. Work, all sorts of things. And if she's anywhere stuck in the rain and shit that has been going on, then she may be have been running a little bit behind. I don't know about y'all, but it has been pouring over here, which made things interesting because there's no cover between my house and the drag cave. But so welcome to Let's Have a Fefe. Obviously, I'm not Felicia Minor, but I am Freddy Prinze Charming. And if you haven't subscribed to our Patreon, you should. There's all sorts of fun stuff on there. There's most recently there's the behind the scenes after show chat with Holly Shoemaker. We get into a little bit more about some of her projects and some of the things that she does, along with some of her costuming stuff. It's super, like, she's interesting. Such an interesting human. Not to mention my Just the Tip blog, which I put on there. We put makeup videos and things. Patreon always sees photo shoots first, and sometimes they see photos from photo shoots that we don't post anywhere else. So there is that. Let's see. We would like to thank our current patrons: Brandon, Chris and Michelle, D, Drake Jensen, Casey Starr, Carrie and Corey, Kim, Joan, Leanne, Nicole, and Shannon. We appreciate you all so much. You have no idea. Special thanks, of course, to our sponsors for this season: Success Boutique, LC Designs, and Wigs of a Kind. This is a Wigs of a Kind wig. Unfortunately, because things happen, Success Boutique is actually going out of business right now. Everything on their store at successboutique.com is half off until they basically run out, which sucks because now I don't know where the hell I'm going to get any of my stuff. I'm really bummed about this. Not to mention, I personally hate to see queer-owned businesses, especially if they're trans-owned businesses, go out of business for any reason. But we all know that things have been tricky to navigate the last few years, and unfortunately that happens. If you would like to virtually tip us, or be a sponsor as well, you can do so at paypal.me/Let's Have a Fefe. And if you are feeling ballsy, I don't know, you can text LHAF to 602-730-7379, and Felicia will send you whatever it is that Felicia sends you. I have no idea what it is that she sends you. Because I tried to do it once and I never got anything. But she probably recognized my number. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, if you are on the Facebook, then you can do the little stars thing, or if you click on the stars button, down at the bottom, they send us like a few cents or something. I have no idea exactly how that works. Not a clue. We would like to thank the folks that have sent us stars already. We appreciate you. Folks like DJ Image, Eddie Omega, Emily, and Laura Renfro, and there are more, but we appreciate all of you, honestly. We couldn't do this without the folks that continue to support us throughout the 10 years that we've been doing this. I still can't believe that. So my weekend was pretty mundane, honestly. Saturday, my partner and I went back to the Ren Fair. This time I was not in drag, which was really nice. I didn't have to worry about my face melting. And we like it was like it was Time Travelers Weekend, so like all the folks from Fan Fusion were there, which means that there were all sorts of. It was a fantastic day for people watching, because there were so many interesting people. You had everything from like steampunk folks to Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it, they were there. It was like the ultimate nerd day out at the fair. It was fantastic. And the Ren Fair runs, just so everybody knows, until I believe the first weekend in April. So if you haven't gone yet, I highly recommend going. It's just fun, and there's so much to see, and there's so many awesome shows, and it's a good time. I don't know. I've always enjoyed it. Sunday didn't really do a whole hell of a lot. We kind of putted around the house, did some cleaning, pulled out all the tubs of our steampunk garb, because that is next weekend. It's fine. I'm not panicking yet. At all. Totally fine. Totally fine. Not worried. Not worried at all. It's all okay. And then yesterday, so for those of you that have been following along at home, about 6 months ago, I went and had a process done at the ENT where they did the whole balloon thing in the sinuses, and then opened up my eustachian tubes, because since getting COVID last April, I've had, I can't even tell you the issues that I've had with sinuses and my ears, and constantly feeling like I have to like unplug my ears, and it's been a damn mess. So I hit my 6-month mark after those procedures, and my ENT was like, well, your sinuses are good, like they're clear, there's no fluid, there's no nothing, there's no infection, everything is good on that front. Your eustachian tubes are open and they're clear, but you know, you're still having issues and you're still struggling with, you know, these things. So we're going to send you to a different ENT who has a different specialty, because their specialty was more like the sinuses and things like that. Whereas this new ENT, their specialty is specifically more the ears, which is what I've been having problems with. So went to this new ENT, and I don't know if anybody realizes this, but I tend to deflect with humor. Like, I know, shocker, right? So go in and they do this fairly extensive hearing test first. And they put me in this little booth. It's soundproof or whatever, and they put things in my ears, which that's uncomfortable anyway, because they're like deep in my ears. And then they do the beeps and things, and like raise your hand when you see the thing. And you know, so they're going through all these different tests and whatnot, and we get done, and you know, I'm like, you know, that would have been a lot easier if there wasn't all this ringing in my ears, because I've been struggling with tinnitus for months now. It's a pretty constant thing, pretty constant ringing. So I've also discovered that ENTs don't have much of a sense of humor. It's fine. And so I'm sitting around waiting for the doctor. He comes in and he's got this nifty little chart, and you know, he starts talking and he shows me this chart. Now, here's the line for like normal hearing, right? It's like here. You know, anything above it is, you know, normal or better, right? So anything below it is not great. So the line for normal is here. My chart starts about here-ish. So needless to say, he tells me that my current hearing loss is moderate, slightly below moderate, kind of dipping into the not so great at all kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that's special. That's awesome. Now, keep in mind, I have always assumed that hearing loss was going to be at some point in my future. Basically, everybody on my dad's side had hearing aids. They lost their hearing. My dad lost his hearing, considerable amount of his hearing when I was younger, and then never got hearing aids until relatively recently, and even then didn't really wear them, and it was a pain in the ass. My mom also had used hearing aids since I was younger. Like, I remember her having hearing aids at a fairly young age for me. So I knew that hearing loss was going to be somewhere in my future because headaches, right? I thought I'd have a little bit longer, but it is what it is. So on the 31st, now I have my first appointment to go. Oh, look, hey there, Felicia. I have my first appointment to go talk to the folks about hearing aids. Now, what I think is kind of interesting is that it's no longer just like you just go get hearing aids or whatever. They actually have like hearing aid programmers. So it's an actual, right. It's an actual, like you go and they look at your hearing results. They look at all of these things, and then they find the hearing aid that's going to work best. Now, I'm not thrilled about this because obviously no one wants to hear that they have significant hearing loss. Like, nobody wants to hear, like, right. Nobody wants to, nobody wants to hear that the problems that they have are unfixable. I should mention that the reason I have significant hearing loss is because I have significant, oh God, I have significant nerve damage, which the doctor actually thinks COVID caused.
Thanks, COVID.
Right. So that's fun. Because that's why I was like, because, I'm like, well, okay, is it something that can be fixed or whatever? And no, it can't be fixed. So we treat the symptoms, which is the hearing loss, which means hearing aids. The plus side is that I can, take the hearing aids out and I can just be in my own little world and not hear anybody. And that'll be great. I can just ignore everybody basically in my house. That'll be fantastic. I could just
What'd you say?
Right. So, although I am in the market now, if anybody knows where I could find like an antique, like earring, like a hearing horn, like the horn that
I would love to.
Cute. I know. So I would love to find one of those. So if anybody knows where I can find one of those, that would be great. So yeah, that's been my week. It hasn't been spectacular. It's one of those things that no one wants to. Health stuff is always stupid, but it is what it is. How was your weekend, Felicia?
I can't remember. Partly.
Oh, excellent.
So let's see. Saturday was the rerun of the Drag Story Hour, virtual story hour that we did a bit ago. Along with that, we're working on some other stuff. And then on Sunday was the day that I lost my mind, and I'm just kidding. So I judged the Miss Gay Supernova Ultimate Star.
Oh my God, they let you judge?
On official capacity.
Wow, that's impressive.
Out loud and on paper. Imagine that. And then it was all I can say is can I say this? I can say this. Never go in expecting to win. I only say that because I've had my own experience where I thought I was going to win and then I fucked it up.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was there.
Don't go in thinking that you are the end all be all and that that is it. That is all that's going to save you. Consistency. You always hear when people talk about pageantry, consistency always um, wins over, like I
Mm-hmm.
want to call it like the glitzy and the glammy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can pull consistency off, if you're going to be terrible all the way through.
Our current Mr. US of AMI Classic didn't win a single category.
Mhm. I'm
Mm.
just saying, consistency wins the game. That is all I can say and will say. But I thought it was a good play of contestants, um, and then had Magic on right after that. The smart thing I did was get ready before the pageant.
Mm.
Um, the dumb thing I did was I drank, and
Ooh,
sometime
girl.
during Magic, I fell on my not so good knee. So, it seems to be better now, but I'm sure like weeks down the line it'll say something to me as I
Mm-hmm.
as you lose your hearing, I'll lose my knees.
Well,
We'll
don't
just
forget I also have the arthritis in my elbow.
Oh, good, good. We're just building up here.
I'm trying to see, like, I'm wondering if I can get on enough disability where I can just stay the fuck home. Like,
you know, we all have our goals in mind, but yeah, that was pretty good. And then Wednesday or Monday, excuse me, today is Wednesday. Um, Monday was the weirdest day. Let me tell y'all about this. Uh, Monday happened and it kind of went like meeting, and I felt like the day went away. Then Tuesday comes and somebody came to my job and proposed that they wanted my job and they could take it over.
oh,
Ever had that
that's
happen?
what?
Seriously? Not
Okay.
kidding. But really doesn't have a leg to stand on. Like, again, consistency always wins the game. Um, it there's no secret of what I do, but it's not that anybody can do marketing, but it's also that not anybody can do marketing. Um, and then so it was very interesting. And then had some other things happen. I was like, is there a full moon out? Is there some kind of creep retrograde thing that's happening that we're not discussing? Because when Mercury goes in Gatorade, I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know. But also, what else? I think that's it. It's just very
Okay.
interesting that all these things were happening, and happy Women's History Month.
Oh, yes, there is that
I
as
did not
well.
do the
There
women's
is that as
history
well.
bit.
I didn't either, and
I
I'm
put it in
very
the
sorry.
title, but here I am.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
apologize to all the women.
You can do it while we go into my tips. So this evening, you'll
Ooh,
notice
not.
this evening I have gone with a very sort of scholastic look, if you will, and this
I
is
was
on
thinking old.
purpose.
Mhm,
Okay, that's fine. Well,
mhm.
that'll work too. Um, the idea was to look like a professor, and I think I managed to pull that off all right.
Oh,
Okay, so, and
oh.
there's a reason for this. So, for my tip tonight, and this is again inspired by sex trivia because it is what it is. So, I am going to give you a little bit of sex education.
What is going
So,
on?
for today's tip, please welcome to middle school sex education with Professor Uvula.
Huh?
That's me. First of all, hang on. I have visual aids here.
You have visual aids?
Yes. Where's my share the screen? Okay.
How long is this gonna take?
We're going to share the. Oh, did that work? Oh, it did. Can you see it?
Yeah, you have to turn it on. Yeah,
I did.
Turn it on.
Okay. Okay, so we can see this, yes? Okay, so what we have here, we have the male reproductive system and we have the female reproductive system. And I say female and male in terms of sex, not gender. It's very different. Two very different things. Very different things. Okay, so we're going to cover some things here. These are things that are covered in middle school sex education curriculum. These are questions that are actually on our sex trivia, which nobody seems to know the answer to these, which is why I have decided to do it this way. Okay, so you see I wish I had a pointer. I need a pointer.
You can point on your screen, like over the... You should be able to see when you go over certain areas.
I don't know how that... I don't know. It's fine. Okay, so first of all, what does the seminal vesicle do? You see the seminal vesicle up here? It is right next to it's above the prostate right there. You see the sign that says seminal vesicle. Okay, right. So, seminal vesicle creates the fluid that turns into semen. It does not produce sperm. Most people don't even know what the fuck the seminal vesicle is. That's what it is. I just said that. It creates the fluid that turns into semen, but does not produce sperm. The testes, which are the bits and baubles that hang, for the folks that have the penis. The testes are the bits that hang behind. They're your balls. It's the ball sack, the balls, the testicles, that area down there. Those are the testes. They produce and store the sperm and also produce the male sex hormone. I know. Mind blown, right? Like,
what?
I know. Now, this is a question that we ask and nobody gets this one right. What are the main parts of the penis? There's literally two main parts. Just two. Two main parts of the penis.
Then people nobody gets this one about it. They always
nobody gets this one. There's many, many different parts to these other parts, but the two main parts that make up the penis, there are literally only two. That is the shaft and the glands. The shaft is obviously, I should think it would be fairly self-explanatory, right? The shaft, the glands would be another word for the head. The head. You have the shaft of the penis and you have the head. Very, very easy. Those are the two main parts of the penis. Obviously, you have other things that comprise that. You have the foreskin, but not everybody has their foreskin. You have the urethra. You have all of that. But the main parts are, we are talking about the shaft and the glands. I know. Unbelievable, right? Nobody gets that.
Can't believe it.
Semen and sperm, not the same thing. Not the same thing. Just gotta throw that out there. Also, okay, so now we have over here the female reproductive system, right? This is all the inside bits. You have the vagina, or the vaginal canal. You have the cervix, the ovary, the fallopian tube, the uterus. You have all of these things inside, which makes up the reproductive system. Now, Felicia, what is the vulva?
Oftentimes, people are always saying that it's the outside end things. That's the most common answer that I see at sex trivia.
The outside end things, correct? Yes. Which could be anything. It could be trees,
the trees, the forests,
the dogs. In my case, we got pigeons. So you know,
I didn't realize the vulva was so involved when it came to female anatomy. So
it's
wow,
very
congratulations
involved.
to y'all.
Very involved. The vulva, for
It's
those of
hard
you that are
having
unaware, the vulva is the external parts. The external
the outside
parts,
and things.
right. So it would be things like the clitoris, the labia majora, labia minora, all of the things that when you look at the
Art.
organ, you will see on the outside the pubis mons. All of that is the vulva, the outside parts. The outside parts that you can see with your eyes when you are looking at it. I know.
Like, what?
I,
And then people will argue with us that it's anything um, that is on the outside.
or
I
they'll
like
just
to,
say something like the clitoris.
yeah. And I'm like,
Or sometimes we'll get the internal lips. There's no such thing as the internal lips.
where did they go?
Inside, apparently. They're
Oh my god. Oh, that would be
I'm just saying.
odd.
So after insemination, right? So you have the penis goes into the vagina, and this is, again, we're just talking biological sex here. We are just talking biological sex. We are talking, not gender. These are, different things. So
I love that your photo is from Encyclopedia Britannica.
you're welcome. It's educational. So when the penis goes into the vagina and it ejaculates, and you have the sperm that travels, it goes through the vaginal canal into the cervix and into the fallopian tubes,
That's a
and
lot of
then into the
traveling.
ovaries. That's where it goes. It's a path. Like I'm pointing at the thing. You can't see it. It's a path. That's where it goes. That's the only place that it can go. It's not gonna. It doesn't go into the butt. It doesn't just. It goes through
You
the
don't know my
cervix
life.
into the fallopian tubes. That's the only place it can go. Do you know, Felicia, how long sperm has to join with an egg before it dies?
Let's go with a good answer from Sex Trivia, like 48 hours.
Correct. Most people say 5. Let's see. We've seen 5 minutes. We've seen 12 hours,
5
24 hours,
days.
48 hours. Nobody ever gets it
Mm-hmm.
correct. The correct answer is actually 6 days, which is why if you're going to take a pregnancy test after having either unprotected sex with somebody, or maybe the condom breaks or whatever, doing it right after ain't gonna tell you shit.
Damn.
First of all, it's not even enough time for anything to happen, not a thing. But also it can take up to 6 days for the sperm to get where it needs to go. So
So when you see it on movies and then people go, "Well, I think I'm pregnant," and it's like the day after, it don't work
yeah,
like that.
it doesn't like
I always watch those things and I go, "What the heck? It doesn't happen like that. You don't wake up and go, whoa,
I,
pregnant."
sometimes and things like this is why I've decided to do this tonight, because this is just some basic information for you, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. Also, AFAB individuals generally only have 2 ovaries. There are two ovaries, no more than 2,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Uh,
where estrogen and progesterone are secreted. Those would be the female sex hormones.
mm-hmm. That's a very delicate area, right? This, I'm pointing at it too. God damn it.
Right, we're all pointing at the thing. See with the thing. Why can't you see what I'm pointing at?
The fallopian tubes, because I've had numerous friends who've had endometrial. Wow, my brain is not working. I can hear it in
Endometriosis.
my head. Yeah, that word. Anyway, um, is that I feel like it's so common, or maybe I've had just so many people that
It
I
can happen.
know.
It's not entirely uncommon. When you can end up with you also have things like ectopic pregnancies where the egg ends up being fertilized in a space where it's not supposed to be fertilized. Then you have an egg that is developing inside things like the
Mm-hmm.
fallopian tube instead of the uterus, which can be very dangerous, and you don't want that to happen. So yeah,
Ooh,
just
do we have that question on our thing?
that's a
How
good one.
long
We
does
should
it
add
take
that.
for it to? Yeah, that's a good one.
That's it. We should
Add that
totally,
on the
yeah.
list.
We can add that on there. And in case anybody was wondering, we're doing sex trivia. This month it's going to be this Saturday because scheduling. So come down to Gracie's and do that. But I need everybody to really kind of study these diagrams here because you'd be surprised at how many people who have penises or who were born with penises don't know anything
Or
about the
sexperts.
penis. And then you have
Sexperts.
people that were also born with things like vulvas and
Don't
vaginas
know where
and
they're at.
uteri, and they don't know anything about their own body parts. So I need everybody to please just take a moment and kind of study up on what's happening in these diagrams because, Lord, I cannot. The amount of information that people don't have is absolutely mind blowing. For instance, Felicia, on average, how many days is a menstrual cycle?
I want to say 2 weeks. I'm just kidding.
Incorrect. That would be incorrect. The key word in
But
that
we have
question
had
would be
that.
cycle. We have, yes. The key word there is cycle because everybody just assumes when you say menstrual cycle, they just mean the period itself. 5 to 7 days is the average on that one. Menstrual cycle, the entire cycle is 28 days. 28 days. How big, Felicia, is a human ovum?
Big enough. I'm trying to. I don't think I remember the answer for that one.
That
No,
one is point. Oh.
I'm not talking about the correct answer. I'm talking about the
Oh.
wrong answers. I've been trying to give
A
you the
lot of people
wrong
have said
answers.
oh god, last time I think we had everything from like the
Like 8
size of an
inches.
eraser or 1 inch or like the size of a thumb or something. A human ovum is only 0.1 millimeters. That's like basically the tip of a pencil, a sharpened pencil, or like a pin. Like that is how big a human ovum is. You don't have giant fucking eggs running around in the ovaries. Like I know sometimes it can feel like that when you're cramping like a motherfucker, but it's not the case.
I think that you should ask what an ovum is because I don't think people know what that is.
An ovum is an egg. It's the
I think you should.
egg.
Are you adding to the list? Can you
I
add that to the
should.
list? Thanks so
I really
much.
should. I know. I really
Because I
should.
feel like people don't even know what that is. Maybe they were guessing
I
the
know.
last time.
I can't. It's.
They're like, what the fuck is that?
Ugh.
I'm gonna. Oh, see,
So.
there's your mouse.
Oh, can you see it
Yeah.
now? Oh, so I have
Yeah.
to bring it up apparently and do it on the page itself. I get it.
Oh.
Oh, where? Oh, I get it. Okay, now I know. There's the seminal vesicle. There's the prostate gland. The fallopian tube. Okay, now I know. Anyway, so there's your basic
How does it travel
uh,
up there?
middle school
How were
sex
babies
ed.
born?
Um, in a nutshell, in a very very small nutshell, those are just the basics. I just.
Hi, Tony.
That shit, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't. I just.
Yes.
But I wanted to just do a crash course in sex ed, just in case anybody was watching and was like, "Oh, hey, I don't know anything about this." So
Oh. Ooh. Where does it
Oh,
go? How does it work? My goodness. Um, is it me now? Is it me
sure.
you're looking for, ma'am? Okay, so I found this on the I don't like when they put it first, but I think they did it on purpose. But the
Is it raining in
GLBTQ
Mesa right? Is it
legal
raining in Mesa right
advocates,
now?
yes, off and on, hard,
It's been raining here for a while.
and
Well, I
windy.
apologize if anybody can actually hear the rain and the playback. 'Cause-
Why apologize? I love the sound of the rain. But this is, I almost feel like this is kind of like a advocate, like ACLU kind of thing. They have a list of LGBTQ leaders for Women's History Month. I'm
Oh,
gonna
that's
read
cool.
off some of the ones that I have not seen before, and not to assume that you don't know who they are, but maybe you do, and I just am a dingbat and very far behind. Let's see. We have. Let's see if I can share the screen too. Let's just do that. It's a night of sharing the screen. Welcome to school, folks.
Right.
There it is. Okay. We have Deborah Batts. Deborah was the nation's first openly gay federal judge. She served as assistant U.S. attorney in New York and a professor at Fordham Law School before she was nominated for the Southern District of New York seat following the recommendation of Senator Patrick. Whoa, that name. Her confirmation in 1994
Moynihan.
made her the first openly lesbian federal judge, not to mention the first African American lesbian judge.
Ooh.
Whoa. Okay, break that glass ceiling. While she never stressed her sexuality, she understood that she was a role model to many. And in a 2019 interview, when asked about her thoughts on being a role model, she said, "You can certainly be a mentor, someone who encourages people who think that they can't do it, they can do it." Let's see. Here's another one. Yasmin Bonet. Is that how you say
Benoit.
that? Benoit. Is an asexual and aromantic activist in the UK. She is one of the first and most successful Black alternative models. Ooh. Pushing into a white-dominated field with Eurocentric standards of beauty, which we face here
All the
too.
time. Yep.
She got many questions from journalists and had to advocate for herself from the beginning of her career. As a model, she has also gotten many questions about her asexuality and fights many misconceptions about the ace community. Benoit has said in interviews, "I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm trying to sell a product," because she's a model. A
Right.
refrain she has had to repeat over her career. And she has worked with AVEN, the Asexuality Visibility and Education Network. This is news to me. This I'm learning as well as I read this, where she now serves on the board to increase the knowledge of and acceptance for the asexual aromantic community. She is also lending her perspective to a movement that often is dominated by white voices, showing how diverse the queer community really is. I mean,
Almost
I can go
everything is
on and
dominated by
on.
voices. So, like, if we can get any other voices in there, that would
Let's
be
see.
fantastic.
I never heard of this one either, but I don't even know where to.
Genisette Gutierrez.
Okay, wonderful. Is an is an advocate for trans undocumented community for the trans undocumented community. Wow, my brain is like reading all of it and then saying none of it. Anyway, she moved to the U.S. at 15, learned English, and has been subject to intolerance simultaneously. And famously, she interrupted President Obama during an
I remember that.
LGBTQ Pride reception to raise the issue of his administration's treatment of transgender immigrants. This generated a national conversation on the issue and the politics of respectability in the LGBTQ movement. She was a founding member of La Familia, Trans Queer Liberation Movement, an organization that works at the local and national levels to achieve the collective liberation. Wow, my brain is off. Of trans, queer, and gender expansive Latinx people.
I remember
go
when she interrupted Obama at that reception.
Maybe next time.
And I think that it did definitely bring to light, some of these issues that a lot of people don't really think about, because when it comes to, LGBTQ plus rights and things like that, it's still very much about it's very much steeped in a lot of privilege, whether it's white privilege, whether it's socioeconomic privilege, whether it's cis privilege. And we see it all the time, the folks that are like, well, we have, gay marriage, so just what else do we want? It's like, okay,
so
well,
just cut it out. Isn't this
there's
enough?
a lot of other issues. Like, it's not just, okay, well, these two cis men can now get married. Fantastic. That's great. There's all these other issues that are within the LGBTQ community that often get kind of ignored and pushed aside because of the amount of privilege that is within the community. It's why the trans community is always yelling, it's like, look, we've been fighting for y'all to be able to get gay married, but as soon as like trans rights or anything like that, any that comes onto the table, everybody's just crickets. Like, so there's the fact that there are so many activists out there now that are being more vocal and shedding a lot more light on the other issues in the LGBTQ community. I think it's fantastic and very much needed. Of course, you still have the cis white gays that just kind of, if it doesn't affect them, they don't really care about it, and that's still very prevalent.
Yes. Privilege. And privilege, if I should remind anyone, doesn't have to do with your social economic status.
It can be, there's all sorts of privilege. There is white privilege, there is cis privilege, there is socioeconomic privilege. There's all sorts of different types of privilege, and like we've said before, it's not inherently bad. It's a matter of recognizing it and figuring out how you can use your privilege for good. That is something that we will constantly say on this show, because I have a certain amount of privilege. Felicia has a certain amount of privilege. We both have a certain amount of privilege, and we both acknowledge what we have and how we do things, because it's yeah.
Should we go on? Here, let's do one more, and then I put the list in the comments, but I think it only went of the platforms. I don't think it goes on Twitter. Yes, human rights are all of the human rights, and must have a voice. It's not one type of human that exists. That is only one that can exist. I wish that people could see the whitewash of all of this, because there are some people that are like, no, you just need to like go with it. And I'm like, wow, if everybody just went with it, there would be no like Anne Franks of the world. There would be no we would have no rights. We would just be at home with somebody we're married to that we have no idea why we're married to them, and or living alone and being devastated, or just it just blows my mind. Angela Davis.
I think most of us should know who Angela Davis is.
If you know, why not? she has played an important role in many of our lives. Let's read this that's written already. Angela Davis is a longtime activist, first in the movement against the Vietnam War, and a defining second wave Black feminist, a self identified longtime communist.
Mm-hmm.
She has been a vocal advocate for prison. Whoa, why isn't my brain? My brain is not doing it. Prison about.
Abolitionist.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I got you. I
Wow.
may not be able to hear, but I can still read. So far, my
I
eyes
can't
are
speak.
great. My eyes are like on point. Like my eyesight is pretty good still. Hearing, not so much. Eyesight, I got you. I got
Oh
you.
my gosh. I'm sorry, y'all. And alternatives to incarceration. How come I can say that word, but I can't say. Mm. Anyway, Angela has been an educator for many years, lecturing on feminism at colleges around the globe. Through her work in these movements, Angela has consistently advocated for women and the LGBTQ plus community, even to the point of breaking with other leaders who weren't listening to those voices. She has been a leading advocate for intersectional advocacy and activism, and has led the field by example. She lives now with her longtime partner and fellow UC Santa Cruz professor, Gina Dent. Also, she was a part of the civil rights movement. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
that's not in
Yep.
here. She was one of the first people. And I found out through watching a Toni Morrison documentary that Toni Morrison was the one kind of pushing her to go out and write a book. And then in return, she encouraged Toni Morrison to write a book where Toni Morrison is on the banned book list because they believe that her writing was giving Black people too much of a
Yep.
voice. Instead of like traumatic voices, we were giving people like Black joy and giving
Oh,
them
we can't.
rights to
No, yeah, we
give
can't have
them
that. We can't have that.
inspiration to live. And
No,
so
no.
um
That's like giving like trans kids like any sort of visibility or anything like that, and no, we can't do that. We can't any sort of we don't want
yeah,
that. So
stop
in politics, we don't
showing
have a
trans kids.
there's politics is always a mess here. It's always but I do find this whole thing kind of interesting. So Dominion Voting Systems is suing Fox News in a $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit for broadcasting conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. As a result of this lawsuit, all sorts of emails, text messages, all sorts of things to and from Fox News anchors have bing released, showing they all knowingly allowed false information on the air.
What?
Yeah, they know they know that they all knew that this was going on.
Oh.
Yeah, and just allowed it. For example, there's a text message from Tucker Carlson to Sean Hannity where he says that an anchor needed to be fired for fact checking Trump's tweet about election fraud. He said that the fact checking was hurting the company, mind you, not the country, but the company, and needed to be dealt with. Yeah. Like all of these emails have come out. And I didn't know this, but Paul Ryan, who is a former Speaker of the House,
Mm-hmm.
is on the board of directors of Fox News.
No way.
Yup. Yeah.
These people are weird.
So it's fascinating that all this is now coming out because Fox News is notorious for spreading bullshit.
So even deeper, didn't we have something similar to that happen to us recently that we found out that Mark Bronovich falsified claims about rigging the election, and it was when the whistle was blown, because I'm going to use the term since they like to use it so well. When the whistle was blown, he was in the middle of the investigation and not had fully gone through the whole thing and falsified certain details. And Adrian Fuentes is now saying that you should read the whole thing. And if you dare read the 2,000-page document, you will see that you were lied to. And so what's scary is I was actually listening to KTAR when he was on there, and he was talking to people, and they were saying, I want to be told the truth, like auditory, like they want to be told
Right.
the truth, like they want to know what facts were wrong. And I'm like, but the fact that is missing from this, and all of the things like when people follow me and cause harm to others,
Right.
is that reading, I'm going to say, is fundamental. Reading helps you find the freedom of you've been lied to, like
But
finding the
and
truth.
and that's the problem, and that's why that's actually how people like Trump managed to get in with the sort of lower class and lower income white population, because they know that reading is not big on their list of priorities. So what they do is they speak in sound bites. They
Mm,
speak in things that can be clipped and used and thrown on Fox News. Here's a 10-second clip of this. Here's 2 sentences of this. And those are the things that they know those folks will catch on to, because they're not, reading is not their thing. And that's just how it is in sort of lower middle to lower class white folks. They don't want to read. They watch TV. They usually have blue collar jobs. That reading is not their thing. And which is, it's fine, to each their own. It has to do with upbringing and education and things. The focus was not put on reading, but
mm-hmm.
that's why they have those sound bites, because then people can just, like Holly said, small blips that people can latch onto, then parrot, because that's exactly what it is. Because anytime you ask them to back up their thing, what they'll do is regurgitate a bunch of shit that has nothing to do with anything, and they just regurgitate sound clips. That's all it is. It's nothing they've actually read anywhere. It's nothing that is
Yeah.
based in fact. It's just sound clips. That's all it is. And it's 100% due to the fact that the education system
Fails
really
again.
failed these folks. Like it really is. It if we taught them, a better critical thinking, then they'd be able to get over and get past things like that. But we failed
We
them.
don't.
And we don't teach critical thinking, really. And especially in the areas, a lot of times these folks will drop out of school, because they need to, they don't find it's going to be beneficial for them in the factory or the farming job or whatever job it is that they're doing in that area. Like, the school's not going to serve them any purpose. They'd rather work. So, or they have to work because of, whatever situation it is. So we fail them in that sense. But that's
Mm-hmm.
why no one's going to read this shit. No one's gonna read it. So
Well, it's
that's
just like when people say, "Oh my God, did you read that article?" And I go, "Okay, well, send it to me." And I know good and well, depending on the person that sent it to me, I know good and well that they didn't read it all.
right. They
Because
read the
if
headline and
you
like the
read
little
down to
blurb
the bottom,
underneath. Right.
because in my business, it is the job of that person to sensationalize, to bring you in, and hopefully you give me what I'm looking for. You're either giving me the page view or you're giving my advertisers uh, their money's worth of free traffic, whatever.
Right.
Um, it's kind of, and you should have heard these. I wish I could have saved the soundbite for it, because these people are saying, why not? Excuse me. Sometimes it's not even the lack of ability to think critically, it's the lack of desire or refusal to use it. And I think that some people want to find fault. I think that some people are looking for some false, um, something that makes it okay. I don't know what that is. A false.
They're looking for the things that will back up their narrative, and
Mhm.
that's what it is. Because if
Like,
they've been told
I'm
by
not
all these
racist, but
politicians,
look at
right?
all of these politicians that say that the way I am is okay.
Right, and that's exactly it. If they believe that immigrants are stealing their jobs, even though there's no way that this immigrant doctor from Egypt is stealing this steel worker's job. There's nothing wrong with with blue collar jobs and the steel workers and things like that. Like, we need those folks. We absolutely need them. But that immigrant doctor is not stealing that person's job. But
Mhm.
rather than put things into an actual like legitimate context, they just immigrants are stealing our jobs.
Mhm.
And they don't want to
They
hear
are.
anything that's going to contradict that at all. And it's just it's really unfortunate. It's yeah. A Vermont high school basketball team forfeited an out-of-state game after learning the other team had a transgender player. The head of the school said that playing against a trans player would jeopardize the fairness of the game and safety of our players, and that allowing biological males to participate in women's sports sets a bad precedent for the future of women's sports in general. So,
Mhm.
my question, how would playing against a trans player put the safety of the team at jeopardy?
It's again hearing false auditory claims. It's the same thing.
Like, do they have a like? What if the
There's
other
no science.
team
There's no
had?
science or facts behind it.
What if the other team had a cis woman who was like 6'7" and built like a Mack truck? Like, would they have a
Not at all.
would they have a problem with that? Because
She
like
has a
if I'm playing like
vagina,
my
presumably.
basketball team in high school, we were all pretty short. I think the tallest one of us was maybe 5'7".
Oh.
Like, we weren't particularly tall. Playing against the German school, they were all like these. They were all really like they played dirty, first of all, but they were also really tall and like they were solid girls on this team, And then on the flip side of that, we would play against a Thai school. They were all like barely 5 foot, and they also beat the pants off of us. So
Literally.
like, would it have
Uh,
been unfair? Like, we're all taller than them by like 5 or 6 inches. Like, does that
what should
create
have
a? It's
happened
like
is your parents should have sued the school district and
probably
knowing good and well that you couldn't play. So,
right. It
um,
would have. It would have. I mean, it's not fair. It's not
it's
fair.
really not fair because you decided that you were gonna play and
I'm
they
only
got
five
taller.
five. I really shouldn't be playing against anybody that's taller than me, because that jeopardizes the fairness of the game.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Or anyone
Take it
that's
to
stronger
court.
than me, or bigger than me in any way.
Take it
I
to
because I was
court.
fairly kind of I was 5'5" and skinny. So if anybody was taller than me, they would have outweighed me. And if they had
Oh
checked
my
me, I
god,
mean,
then
that
they outweighed you. You should have taken them to court. You should have taken them to court. You
like
should
it's just
sue
it's
the
not
school
fair. Like,
district.
it's really not fair. Like, I'm just you know it's
You should sue the school district for all the things that you wanted as a teenager
I really
and tell
should.
them
I
that
really
I'm
should.
coming for all of your money and this wasn't right and it ruined your adulthood
Mm.
and now your life is over. Mhm.
This is why I am the way I am.
Oh my
I'm just gonna
god.
leave that there. I'm just gonna leave that right
Oh my
there.
god, that's so problematic.
Just gonna leave that right there. It's an
Wow.
open-ended statement. You're welcome.
Oh, I feel like I'm on Facebook. Wow. Uh, a growing number of Black families are choosing to homeschool their kids because why? It's a form of resistance. but why? At the beginning of 2020, about 3.3% of Black families homeschooled their kids, which jumped to 16.1 by the end of the year, of
That's a
that year,
big jump.
2020. A
That's a
very.
big jump.
Most
Even
parents say
during the
that,
pandemic, that's a big jump. Like,
yeah.
because schools were
I
going
mean,
back.
and to be honest, to be very clear, it's not homeschool like we all knew that schools were closed and we were online.
Right.
This is like they took their kids out of that school and
Correct.
decided to school the children themselves.
Correct. Correct.
Most parents say that they're doing it so that they have more control over what their kids are learning. Ooh, is that a bit of nostalgia coming? Parents
Mm.
learned stuff in the pandemic, and then they realized they weren't learning something, and then they decided how to change their future. Anyway,
Mm.
uh, they wanted more control after states have been attempting to ban critical race theory. Um, Imagine that they just don't want actual legitimate history.
And we don't. We don't.
Non-whitewashed,
We don't talk about
non-whitewashed.
things. The history. There's no history.
I mean, let's talk about that Black history does not only include slavery.
What? What do you? That's not a thing. Okay, if you say so. Like, whatever. So there's actually there's some studies actually being done now. It's a little bit trickier to get this information because it's being very kind of it's harder to get the information, but there's some research now being done about the slavery that was actually happening in the North, where there were
Mm,
several hundred slaves that were working up that way during between the 1600s and the 1800s, up in the towards New York and on the East Coast and things like that, which people don't want to talk about. People assume that the North was completely free of any sort of slavery, which was not the case. But they're finding that this information is a little bit harder to come by. It takes a little more digging to get it, because it's those things where everybody's like, no, we don't want to talk about that. We're just gonna shh.
so I did a little bit looking into this during the pandemic. It is a little bit scattered or disguised. So in the North, what they were doing is maybe they weren't as violent and as belligerent as the
Mm-hmm.
South was, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think people get it wrong.
Right. And
Um,
just because we're talking about this real quick, because anytime anybody
uh
brings up slavery, there's
hmm
always that one white person that's like, well, the Irish had it just as bad. No. I'm gonna throw this out there, and this is probably something we need to talk about more in depth. So,
hmm
but I'm just gonna throw this out there right now. The Irish that were over here, most of them were what we call indentured servants. The difference is that they may not have been treated great, but the difference is with indentured servitude, basically you kind of strike a deal. And a
hmm
lot of times what it was is these either, lower middle class poor Irish folks either A, wanted to get the fuck out of Ireland and wanted to get a new start in, across the pond. So what they did is they would work out a deal with a well-off merchant, somebody that was already going, and they'll be like, okay, I'll pay for you and your family to go over there, but then for 3, 5, 10 years, whatever it is, after we get there, you need to work for me to pay off
hmm
that debt.
hmm
Or maybe they are in debt in Ireland, and to get out of that debt, they sent someone over, the father, the brother, the whatever, with somebody else to work off that debt, and then the person that they worked for would then send what they would pay them to the person that they owed the money to back in Ireland or whatever. So let's be very clear here that there is a big difference between indentured servitude, which generally, like, if you want to
hmm
talk about the whites that were in that, the very different than the people who were literally ambushed, stolen, chained to each other on a boat, shipped across the fucking ocean, dumped off and
by
sold
their
like
own
cattle.
people.
Right. So there's a big difference there. So to anybody that's like, oh, but wait, the Irish, no. That argument is completely irrelevant. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm just going to throw that out there. So, and I feel like that's something that at some point we probably need to talk about, because I think that, but yeah, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Let's see. I added some things really quickly.
I see that.
In West Virginia, mixed martial art coach and his team. I grabbed the headline real quick. So, MMA fighters have said that and promised that they will protect a drag brunch in West Virginia from right wing
protesters. I got you.
Here in the U.S., and they encourage others to do so by, I need some MMA fighters to come protect me.
I have to say, this shit blows my mind. So anytime I see this all the time now, folks are posting because, there's 300 plus bills that are out there that are anti-LGBTQ, and so many of them are targeting the trans and drag community, which we talked about last week. And so many of these are moving towards, through the state house and the state senate and landing on their, the respective governors' desks and things. And their people are genuinely concerned. People are scared. And, people will post it. And then I'll see somebody like underneath, they'll comment and they'll be like, I don't know what's going on. I'm out of the loop. Okay. What? You have no idea what the fuck is happening? Or someone will post something about, that one video game, and someone's like, wait, what? I'm so out of the loop. When did this happen? Oh my God. Are you so clueless? Are you so like...
Okay. Pause for a second. I was just talking to somebody about this. So, in the world pre-social media, there's so many crisscross ways that people see things. But in a way, I know that there are many forms of communication, but pre-social media, the communication was coming out like this. There was it, and you talk to your friend, and you talk to your friend, and you talk to that friend. Slow, steady stream of information. We were in silos, but we weren't able to hide from this different things that we heard or saw. If so, we were being plain ignorant, and whatever. That's your business. Now, social media. We just said that people only read the headlines. They only hear what they want to hear. So, now we've gotten to a point where we can create with social media the environment that we want. So go with me here. During the 2020 era of madness, I saw people block people. I saw people hide people. I saw people say, I'd never talk to family members again, cutting off the conversation. Even when it was like, my pencil is red, but the pencil is blue.
Right.
Okay, so you block that person now. Now it's just like the people that say, I don't want any politics on my timeline, so I block you or I turn it off. You're creating this tunnel vision for yourself that you don't see the information. You don't hear the information. You're not going outside and reading the news, reading again. You're not, because this is where the part where Shannon's talking about critical thinking is cut off, because people are cutting off this piece that says, if A, B, and C is happening, but I feel like I'm being frauded as a voter, I need to go find out. Instead, I'm going to take what I hear in bits and pieces, and I'm going to take the bits and pieces that I hear. And when somebody says, yeah, that's right, read the headline, it feeds on my emotion.
Right.
And now I have not read a thing and I have not deciphered it for myself. So at some point, I didn't really stop blocking people. I kind of just sat there at one point in 2020 and looked at what is really going on, because all in all, the way that these things are set up, it's based on your interest anyway. So I know I confuse Facebook and all of them all the time, because I'm sometimes I just
Facebook
go,
is now
oh.
showing me advertisements for hearing aids.
You're welcome.
Fuck my life.
But like, that's where I think that this whole like weird silo mentality is coming from, where I live in my house, I see on my screen what I want to see and nothing else. Oh, I didn't know about that.
It just blows my mind. Like, I can't imagine being that disconnected. Like, it just, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, it's one thing to like get clips of things and be completely misinformed. It's another thing to not know anything about anything. Like,
But there's also people cutting themselves off
oh,
from.
I know. That shit just blows my mind to just be so nonchalant about, I don't know anything about this. Wow, this is like, oh my God. Speaking of which, a bill that is criminalizing trans people using the public restrooms in the presence of minors advances in Arkansas. If it passes, it would set a new precedent for the criminalization of being trans in Arkansas. I already don't like Arkansas. It already tried to kill me. The shitty thing is that,
And it took your hearing.
and it took my hearing. The shitty thing is that because it is Arkansas, it will probably pass.
That's so sad.
Which
I
again
know a
begs
lot
the
of trans
question:
people in
why are people
Arkansas.
so fucking obsessed with my genitals? Because how are you gonna know that there's a trans person in the bathroom if you're not saying, "Let me see your genitals now"? Republicans need to get the
What
fuck,
is
like, they call us sexualizing people, like they tell us that we're sexualizing like minors and shit, and yet you're obsessed with what is in somebody's pants. You
mm-hmm.
are literally trying to like you're calling us like sex offenders, but in order for you to know that I'm trans and using the restroom, you're going to have somebody there videoing, checking, looking, seeing what is in my pants.
They already
Like,
they will.
but
Mm.
that's totally fine, apparently. Totally fine. Not problematic at all. Ooh, good. We are 13 minutes over. How did that even happen?
I
Jesus
don't know.
Christ.
We got passionate.
I
My
guess.
last
Oh,
thing
Lord.
that I didn't put up there, but we have different actors of color that are going to play in the little uh, live action or remakes of Peter Pan and Wendy, The Little Mermaid, and Snow White in the next couple years. Internet, you are racist. These characters are not real, and they only are based on somebody's imagination, and somebody else's imagination came through to remake them. Internet, you are racist, and the fact that it doesn't matter if a white person takes over a black character in a remake. Like, so why is it such a big deal that Ariel's black? Snow White is now going to be a person of color, and
Oh my God, we can't have that.
um, and somebody's going to play Tinkerbell. That was the biggest one. Somebody was there. The outrage that I read on the internet about Tinkerbell not being white.
Lord. The things that people get upset about. Genitals and fictional characters. I don't know.
I don't know where to go with that, but I know that we are not okay. We are not okay
So,
as a
okay, real
society.
quick. On Friday, myself and Randy Wild are going to be joining Madame Askew and the Grand Arbiter for their Friday virtual tea time. We'll be talking a little bit about the show that's going to be happening next Friday at Wild Wild West Con in Tucson. So that should be fun. It's always fun when we do things with them because they're a hoot and a holler. And then of course March 10th, which is next Friday. Fuck my life. Is Wild Wild West Con in Tucson. And the drag show and burlesque show that's happening that night, which if you want to go to the show without going to the con, you can actually do that. Tickets will be available. I would recommend getting them before, obviously. So, yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited.
Then on the 17th, we are back at La Guitarra for Drag Bingo and Cats. Haven't been there in a minute. So join us. It's $40 a person. But if you can afford it, I hope to see you there. And then Freddy is back in April at Austin International Drag Fest. And then again, May 4th. Well, when he gets back. May 4th, bingo at the Drink Me Tea Room. Since
I should mention I keep forgetting to put it on here, but the weekend after I get back from AIDF, so I get back
the 13th.
I get back on like the 10th or like very late on the 10th, sort of the 11th. But then that weekend, the April 14th through the 16th, is Southwest Love Fest, which is it's a convention that takes place in Tucson, and it's all about like non-monogamy, consensual non-monogamy, whatever. They have different panels and things that deal with everything from kink to everything you can possibly imagine. And Teddy Michael and I are actually presenting
wonderful.
How to be a trans ally in bed at the conference. So tickets are actually available. If you want to go, let me know. I do have a link for you where you actually save. You can save 10% on your tickets. So I can give you that and a code. So we'll be presenting on that Saturday, I believe. So yeah, there's that. That's also happening.
Called?
Southwest Love Fest.
You know, we're both gonna forget.
I know. I keep forgetting to put it on there, and I totally, and then May 4th, I'm doing Drag Story Hour Bingo at the Drink Me Tea Room, and we'll have all of that information out probably within the next couple weeks or so, I'm guessing.
And then June 2nd, we will be performing at Phoenix Fan Fusion. We've got some ideas going on now as we think about all the things. If you have ideas, let us know. And I have not confirmed that next piece, so I'm not going to say it. But we have some guests in the works, and we hope that if you have ideas for guests, please tell us, because I
we're always down for suggestions, because a lot of times we'll reach out to people and they sound interested and then they just kind of ghost us and whatever. But if you're going to recommend somebody, please, for the love of Christ, make sure that they are interesting, they are engaging, and they have something to talk about, because just saying. Anyway,
I won't say anything to that, but thank you for watching. If you watch on the replay, if you watch live, good for you. Good for you.
We appreciate you. We know that things are a little weird right now. Like I feel like everybody's kind of just off in general. I know a lot of folks are struggling with a lot of different things. I think people are kind of coming out of that end of like that sort of seasonal depression. The weather's been weird, which doesn't help anything. Like, especially, I mean, it's been weird here. I don't know what it's been like elsewhere. I know there's been like weird snow and shit happening, and so we appreciate you still continuing to join us on your Wednesdays, whether you watch us live
actually
or after,
sent me pictures of it snowing in California.
Listen to the podcast, which we're up to almost 10K, I think, on the podcast.
Almost.
We're up to almost 10K downloads on the podcast, so we appreciate that. We definitely appreciate that.
You guys like hearing us more than you like seeing us. I can see that.
I can't say I blame them sometimes.
I want to show, if you're watching, this is what my original foundation looked like in my early years.
This is really not far off. Not far off at all. Anyway, we'll see you all next week for your Wednesday night conversation.
Good night.
Good night.